fans, how you doing? How you doing? Happy Sunday evening. Can you smell it in the air, everyone? Opening day is just around the corner. No, I'm not counting the Dodgers and the Padres. That's not actually opening day. Opening day is this coming week. Get pretty excited, everyone. I can't lie. We got some news, though. We still have Jordan Montgomery on the market. My goodness. Can he please sign? We might actually get that wish this week. We might actually have that happen. We'll break that down. We'll get into it. The Orioles make an interesting move, starting Jackson Holliday in the minor leagues. I'll talk about that. But Wyatt Langford has made the Rangers opening day roster. That dude's a beast. I mean, I'm just saying, everyone better keep an eye out for that guy. My goodness, we'll talk about that. The Rockies extend one of their young players. The Yankees name their fifth starter. And we got the latest on Shohei Ohtani. How you doing, everyone? Good evening. How you doing? Hello. Over 100 people in the chat to start things off. We got moderators. We got members. Zach, Nicholas, how you doing, my friends? Hello. Ed, how you doing? One of our members is here. Lane is here. We had a spammer in here, it looks like, a little bit ago. Oh, my goodness. What the heck was going on there? Thank you, Nicholas, for taking care of that. Mike, how you doing, my friend? How you doing? Hello, everyone. Ballin' with AC, Baseball AI, how you doing? Jacob, what's going on? MLB channel, hello. Everyone, I hope you have all had yourself a great weekend. I'm not going to lie. I'm really tired. I don't know why. I'm just exhausted. I've been cooking up my predictions. Those look like they're going to be ready, hopefully, by tomorrow night. That's the goal. I want it to be tomorrow night. If not tomorrow night, probably Tuesday night. The goal is tomorrow, though. I will be chugging away at finishing those predictions. I've been going back and forth a little bit on a couple. You know, I don't know, not like it really matters because I'm going to get them wrong anyway. But I'm having an internal struggle about which teams I want to go with in certain spots. I mean, you all love predictions because you just love to get mad at them. I can't wait to post my predictions because I'm going to have all the hateful comments like, oh, this guy needs to, go back to his day job. Comments like that. I always love those. They're my favorite. But predictions are always fun. And, hey, at the end of the day, they're going to be wrong. So what can you do? But we will also be having off-season grades coming up, hopefully, in the next couple of days. I haven't done my off-season grades because I'm still waiting for a guy by the name of Jordan Montgomery to actually sign somewhere. I don't want to give out grades until all the top guys are off the board. And, hey, Jordan, man, if you're watching this for some reason, you are preventing me from doing my content, man. And I'm going to say this too. Jordan Montgomery, I think, could be a difference maker for a team in the playoffs. Like, that's what makes these predictions kind of annoying to do because let's say, for example, he signs with the Phillies. That could change an entire series right there. So it's like I can't even do my predictions. Without, what can you do? I don't know what to do. Anyway, but expect off-season grades sometime in the next couple of days as well. But let's get into it tonight. People are starting to roll on in. Thank you for that. And everyone, we got some stuff to talk about. Montgomery, obviously, the Yankees naming their fifth starter. The Orioles making a rather head-scratching move. Jackson Holliday going to the minor leagues. I'll give you one reason why it might not be that crazy, but I think we all know the reason why that's happening, but it is what it is. Wyatt Langford making the Rangers opening day roster. That guy, I'm just saying, everyone, listen, there's something about Mr. Langford. That guy's good. I don't know what else. There's just a thing. It doesn't even matter about the numbers or the advanced metrics. You just watch the guy. I'm going to make a bold statement here. I think we could be on the verge of seeing one of the next great players in baseball. I mean that sincerely. when talking about Wyatt Langford. I'm just saying. JM, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. Built like Trout. Hey, man. I think we might be on the same page right there. I'm just saying. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about a couple other things as well. Before I do get started, as always, hit that subscribe button if you are new. Hit that like button. It helps with the algorithm. The goal for tonight is 100 likes. We're already more than halfway there, so help us get there. Hit that bell notification. Share the show. And let's get to it, everyone. Let's get to it. All righty. Where should we start? I mean, listen, I've already talked about Jordan Montgomery. I'm just going to make this clear. I hate talking about Jordan Montgomery now. I can't stand it. If I have to say Jordan Montgomery one more time after this coming week, I'm probably never going to talk about the guy ever again. I really can't take it anymore. It's tiring. It's boring. It's old. I want opening day. I don't care about free agents anymore. It's done. It's over. You're killing me. But we have to start with Jordan Montgomery. Unfortunately, that is the top story. So let's get to it here. We have the latest on Jordan Montgomery's market. Good friend Jim Bowden. Man, I haven't talked about Jim Bowden in what feels like forever. Man, those videos I did on those trade proposals he used to make, those are pretty fun. I can't lie. Oh, Jim Bowden. I will always remember when Jim Bowden blocked me. Then he unblocked me, so I felt better. Anyway, Jim Bowden. He was on MLB Network Radio today, and we will listen to that clip in a little bit. But he says, now, take it with a grain of salt. It is Jim Bowden. At the end of the day, I don't know when. I don't know. I can't think of the last thing that he got correct. I can't think of the last thing he was even close to being correct. I don't know. I'm not trying to poke at the guy. I'm being realistic. Even if he has gotten something right lately, I don't remember it because I remember more of the wrong than the right. It's just the optics of it, unfortunately. But it is Jim Bowden at the end of the day. He is still a name in Major League Baseball. And he is reporting that that Jordan Montgomery has 2 long-term offers on the table and that he could sign somewhere as soon as this week. It's unclear which teams have made an offer to Montgomery at this point, but he does mention the Red Sox and the Yankees are still involved to some degree. He mentions a few teams here, not really that they're necessarily involved, but he mentions that these teams have lost starting pitching, like the Diamondbacks with Eduardo Rodriguez, the Phillies with Taijuan Walker, the Yankees having issues with Garrett Cole, the Astros, recently with Jose Urquidy, you've had Justin Verlander getting off to a slow start this spring. So, so he mentions these teams, but not necessarily as teams that are actually involved. But the big thing that he says is that there's 2 teams offering him long-term deals. I mean, that's pretty specific. Is that actually Scott Boras talking? Or, listen, I think, what else would it be? I mean, can we be real here? Like, where else would he be getting this information from? It's probably Scott Boras. But listen, go back to the Blake Snell signing with the Giants. Remember the day before, Blake Snell signed this past Monday. That Sunday, Bob Nightingale said that he was looking for at least 2 years in that $60 million range for the 2 years. Next night, he ends up signing, right? I think we're at a point now where Scott Boras probably doesn't want to be playing around with this. So remember with Blake Snell, we saw the specifics. 2 years, we saw the dollar value, the dollars that he was wanting. That was very specific. This is also very specific. 2 long-term deals, right? It's not the fact that he even just says 2, that to me, I think makes this probably closer to being legit, in my opinion, because it's not saying that he has multiple long-term offers. No, he actually says 2, right? So I think that has some weight to it. So I think that's pretty significant. Says his market has finally hit, and it's getting competitive. So it's interesting, right? Now, the one thing with Jordan Montgomery that I have brought up here in the last couple of weeks or so, that he doesn't have the draft pick compensation tied to him because he doesn't have the qualifying offer. If he signs before opening day, he will be eligible for a qualifying offer next offseason because he has not been eligible for a qualifying offer up to this point. Remember, he got traded from the Cardinals to the Rangers at the deadline, so that canceled out his qualifying offer. So if he signs before opening day, because every player in their career, they are eligible for one QO. So if he signs before opening day, he is eligible for the qualifying offer next offseason. If he signs after opening day, he will not be eligible for the qualifying offer. So I actually wonder where their heads are at with this. Like, would Scott Boras want him to have that qualifying offer? Or would Scott Boras be like, hey, you know what? We've already gotten this far. Let's just wait this out. Let's wait this out past opening day. Because with Blake Snell, remember, he had the QO, right? So whoever signed him, they were going to have to give up a draft pick. But it's a little different with Jordan Montgomery because he's never had the draft pick tied to him. And that can be something where teams can be like, I don't know. We're not really sure how hard we're willing to push here. We have to give up that compensation pick. So that could be something Montgomery might not want to have, or he might want to have that leverage, right, where he can still, I'm just losing track of my words right now. If he signs before opening day, then he simply just will have the qualifying offer. Maybe that's something that they will want to have for next offseason. I don't know. My guess is that they wouldn't want to have it. So maybe they wait until after opening day. But I could see the benefits of having the qualifying offer too. I don't know, because that could also give them that sort of like safety blanket, to be able to go back to a team. But then again, I don't know. It's not very often you see the players, especially the top players on the market, take the QO. So we'll see. I don't know. I do wonder in this situation if it might be a little different from Snell. I know I was saying that there's, we were receiving those specifics, and then the very next day he ends up signing. Whereas this case, I don't think he necessarily needs to sign. I don't know. I can't answer that question because I just don't know what they would want. I would imagine, I don't know. Maybe I think what I'm trying to say is I want him to just freaking sign at this point, and the thought of him even lasting past opening day, that just drives me up a wall. Like I can't even do it. But that might be what ends up happening. Now, let's kind of break down this market a little bit, right? Well, let's actually listen to this from Jim Bowden. I got the clip for you. Let's take a listen.
My understanding from my sources is that Montgomery's market is here, and so it's probably going to happen this week because it's becoming really competitive. They have 2 long-term offers on the table for Montgomery, so he's not necessarily going to get this short-term deal like we thought with that Blake Snell and Bellinger got, because he does have 2 long-term deals on the book, so he may go that direction, which would make sense in his case because he's been so consistent for 3 years. But, one team to keep in mind is the Orioles, because that sale, I believe, gets finalized this week, if I'm not mistaken. At least the first 40% does. Maybe Dave Rubenstein comes in as the new owner and wants to make a mark. Can you imagine you take over the team and then you sign Jordan Montgomery right away? I mean, there couldn't be a better message you could send to a fan base.
Pretty much the first half of that is what we're looking for. The second part where he talks about the Orioles, that's more speculation at the end of the day. But let's kind of dive in to these teams that could be fits. I know I've mentioned a lot of these teams, every single show we talk about Jordan Montgomery, but let's kind of just roll through all of them that make sense. Now, Bowden mentioned the Diamondbacks in his tweet. I don't see the Diamondbacks, honestly. They're not really a team that tends to go out and spends a bunch of money. Yeah, they lost Eduardo Rodriguez, at least for a little bit, with a lat strain. So he is going to be slowed down coming into the season. I don't see them pivoting towards Jordan Montgomery in that case. I mean, I don't know. I think they just use the pitching that they already had last year, and then when Rodriguez comes in, there you go. So I don't know. I don't see the Diamondbacks getting involved for Jordan Montgomery. That would be a pretty fun fit. So I just don't see it happening. Now, so Eduardo Rodriguez, one thing to mention there is he will be starting the season on the IL. Usually with these lats, you tend to, because remember, it's not necessarily the shoulder, but it's something, it's connected with the shoulder, right? The lat is a big deal. So you're probably, I don't know, I would imagine they probably take their time with him. You maybe see him debut maybe like late April, early May, something like that. So Houston Astros. This is a team I was speculating about for a while. They have pretty much come out and said at this point they are not going to pivot. They got involved with the Blake Snell stuff. That was pretty surprising. But now it looks like they're pretty much going to stand pat. Snell, in my opinion, like the difference with Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery for the Astros is Jordan Montgomery is looking for a long-term deal. Blake Snell is looking for a short-term deal. So with the Astros' window of competitiveness, he fit into their time frame a lot better than Jordan Montgomery does. So I don't see the Astros going after Jordan Montgomery unless Montgomery just says, you know what, I'll do the short-term deal. I could see the Astros being okay with that, right? But unless he goes for a short-term, I don't see the Astros doing it. The Yankees. Now we keep seeing the Yankees pop up. Listen, I don't know how many more times I got to say this. Maybe I end up being wrong. I don't know. I'm just kind of going with, at least in my head, common sense. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see the Yankees going after Jordan Montgomery. I just don't. I don't think that once they signed Stroman, they weren't going after Blake Snell. I never saw it happening. Why? Because their payroll is through the roof. They have been over the CBT limit since 2022, right? They were at 264 back in 22. Last year, they were at 293. And this year, they're over 300 million. That's the third straight year over the CBT, and this year, they're over the first threshold by $60 million. And when you combine the fact that they've been over it for 3 straight years, that's already a 50% tax on the overages, and then they're over it by $60 million, that's 60% tax on the overages. So if they sign someone right now that is a 110% tax, so if they signed Blake Snell to $30 million, they would have been paying, what is that? What's 30 times? That would be a $33 million tax. But and then I'm seeing like even, MLB trade rumors where they're talking here saying, where did this part go? A lengthy deal that features a deflated average annual value could make a great deal of sense for a club such as the Yankees that has or is approaching or has already surpassed the highest threshold. I don't think the Yankees want to be paying 110% on anything. What, like, in my opinion, if that were me in that seat, right, and Blake Snell was going to cost you $30 million, to me, if I'm still paying 110% on, let's say, $20 million, Jordan Montgomery is going to cost more than $20 million per season. I keep seeing people talk about this, saying Jordan Montgomery, he's going to have to take like under $20 million. He's not getting under $20 million. Like, he was worth an average of $28 million the last couple of years. Yes, with a long-term deal, you're not going to see $28 million per year. If he took like a short-term deal, then yeah, he would get around $28 million per year. But if he's going to get, let's say, 4, 5, maybe 6 years, you're probably going to end up having to pay probably like 24 to 25 million per year. At least 23. There's no way you're going to go lower than that. And I don't see the Yankees paying 110% on a guy that's going to cost $20 million. That's a lot of tax, man. And I know you're going to have a lot of payroll come off the books next year, but dude, and I know they wouldn't have to give up a draft pick either for Montgomery. I just don't see it. Like, that is way too much. You know, maybe Lorenzen could have made some sense. He ended up taking, $4.5 million? That, okay, fine. You pay $4 million in extra tax. Okay, sure, it stinks having to pay some tax, but at least it's under $5 million, right? They're not paying, I don't know, unless maybe I don't know what the Yankees actually think or whatever. I highly doubt that the Yankees would pay $20 million in taxes to get Jordan Montgomery. I just don't see it. I don't. That's a lot of money. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't buy it. I really don't. I don't know. That's just me. Moving on. Let's go to the next team. The Orioles. Jim Bowden mentioned the Orioles. That he was more speculating, right? It was his own opinion, right? It was his own opinion. I agree. I agree with Jim Bowden. I think the Orioles make an absolute ton of sense. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, my goodness. You would have a rotation of Burns, Montgomery, G-Rod, and then eventually Bradish comes back. But, you know, with Bradish, it looks like things have been going well from the last time that I read about his status. But, yeah, I mean, and Jim Bowden saying that deal could get finalized this coming week. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Does ownership right off the bat, like Mike Elias, does he, go to new ownership and say, hey, we got this guy named Jordan Montgomery out there. Yeah, he's going to cost a little bit, but our payroll is extremely low. I mean, right now, the Orioles payroll, luxury tax payroll, is at $122 million. I don't know. You got new ownership. I think it makes a ton of sense. But what do I know? I don't know. Maybe Mike Elias doesn't want to spend that money. I don't know. But maybe the Orioles could emerge as a possibility this coming week. That would be an out-of-nowhere team. We haven't heard anything about the Orioles. But I think they make a lot of sense. The St. Louis Cardinals. They've been popping up recently with Jordan Montgomery. They've been more popping up at where I guess reports are saying that they've kind of touched base a little bit. Listen, when you're looking at the payroll with the Cardinals, they are at $215. So most likely you're going to go over that CBT. Do the Cardinals want to do that? I don't know. I'm not sure. You do have Paul Goldschmidt coming off the books. I guess it really comes down to what's going to happen with Paul Goldschmidt. You do have some other guys like Gibson has a club option. Lynn has the club option. You got a couple of guys in Crawford and Carpenter that's going to create some space. Maybe. I mean, listen, Sonny Gray is going to be starting the year on the IL. Got a bum hamstring. I mean, this rotation. Listen, I think these guys can definitely eat some innings. Michaelis and Lynn and Gibson, Matt's, sure, bounce back year candidate. But I think they still could use some more depth. Zach Thompson, a young lefty that's coming in here. Maybe he could do something. But I think Montgomery going back to the Cardinals definitely could make some sense. So maybe. I've been mentioning the Cubs. And I feel like the more time passes, the more I'm losing interest in the idea that the Cubs could end up signing him, especially now that they've announced that their rotation is pretty much set. Steele, Hendricks, Wicks, Imanaga, Assad as of right now. Jameson Taillon on the IL, has a back issue, but it looks like everything is going well with that. He's starting to progress there. So we'll see. But, listen, with the Cubs, I mean, that would give them a lot of lefties in the rotation, but that would definitely be a guy that gives you some innings. And they had been connected with Montgomery this offseason. At this point, though, I actually wonder if maybe I would put the Cardinals ahead of the Cubs. I was really high on the Cubs at one point. I don't know. I just feel like Chicago, I don't know, like they brought Bellinger back. You brought in Imanaga, Neris. I don't know. I just felt like they were one move short this offseason. I felt like they were in store for one more, and it just never happened. So, no. But at this point, I think the Cardinals might actually make a bit more sense, especially with Sonny Gray having some issues with the hamstring. Then we got the Phillies. The Phillies are really interesting. I've been mentioning the Phillies for Jordan Montgomery for a while now. I feel like I might have been one of the first people to actually put that out there. And then all of a sudden you start seeing on Twitter, like, oh, man, Jordan Montgomery, the Phillies, that could be a really good idea. I don't know. Like, I was just thinking, like, man, you think with the Phillies, listen, I know you re-signed Wheeler, you re-signed Nola, but that's all you've done. Whit Merrifield, sure. Yeah, you got some guys that can probably end up having better seasons than they did last year, and that includes Harper. That includes Turner. Harper missed a lot of time last year, and he's going to be playing first base, a less demanding position this coming year. Trey Turner, bad first half last year, looked great in the second half. Even looking at a guy like JT Realmuto, the bat was quiet with him last year. So yeah, you could definitely see some internal improvements, right? And, you're looking at a guy like Christopher Sanchez that maybe could do something for you. And Ranger Suarez, let's see if he can give you some more innings this year. But now I'm looking at the fifth spot in the rotation, and I'm seeing Spencer Turnbull. Why is Spencer Turnbull there? Well, Taijuan Walker's having issues with the shoulder right now. And listen, Taijuan Walker, he did give you innings last year, but is that really a guy that's worth $18 million? Well, let's actually go look. Well, last year, while the numbers may not have looked great, he was still worth close to around $20 million. Right? He was able to give you the innings. So, hey, $18 million for a fifth guy in the rotation, basically a four. That might not seem great, but he did at least meet his expectations, but at least according to his salary. I know Phillies fans might disagree with me on that, but now you got something wrong with the shoulder. So how long is he going to be out? And now Spencer Turnbull? And this is a guy that's missed a lot of time. I mean, yeah, sure, he pitched 7 games last year. Whatever, don't even look at the numbers, but he didn't pitch at all in 2022, so how's that going to go? I mean, you don't know. So the Phillies all of a sudden look like they could use something in this rotation, and I thought already they needed something else in the rotation. So I wonder if the Phillies could maybe knock on the door and say, hey, what do you think? 4-year deal, 5-year deal? We're gonna be going for championships in the next few years. You want to come aboard? All right. However, there was a little something from a couple of reporters today. Bob Nightingale actually discussed the Phillies and Jordan Montgomery in his Sunday notebook. The Phillies are at least internally discussing the possibility of pursuing Jordan Montgomery, but no decision has been made on whether they plan to contact Scott Boras. There's a renewed sense of urgency with Walker opening the season on the IL. However, we had an article here from Todd Zalecki. I believe he's the MLB.com beat reporter for the Phillies. He says here, the Phillies had expressed some interest in the beginning of the year, earlier this year, in free agent lefty Montgomery on a 1-year deal. But that interest cooled as camp got going. It is unclear if Walker's shoulder issue might change their thinking. All those sources said earlier that the club always felt it would need to clear payroll to keep from crossing the third luxury tax threshold. So if we go look at the Phillies payroll as of right now, they're at 261. So yeah, they're going to be over a little bit here. I know, Phillies fans, they say, Middleton, he's going to do what it takes to win a championship. But at the end of the day, and they also did just sign, I think, a big TV deal just recently. So maybe that, I don't know, maybe that could end up being helpful. Who knows? So, but back in 2022, they were over the luxury tax by about $16 million. 23, they were over it as well, 262. And then this year, they're over it once again. So they're over it for the third straight year. So remember we looked at with the Yankees, third straight year, you're going to be paying 60% on the tax, right? So on the overages. So right there, they're going to be paying right around $24 million in taxes, or not $24 million, but so if it's 60 for the third year, and then I believe, so they're in the, what is it? So they're in the second threshold, so they're going to get like what, a 20%. So they're going to be taxed around like anywhere from like 80 to 90%. Maybe I'm wrong, 70 to 90, somewhere in there. Let me pull up the CBT numbers again. I don't know why I click out of stuff. It drives me nuts. Why do I do this? Let's go back here. So, again, sorry, I was backwards. I'm a visual guy. I need to see it in front of my face. Third consecutive years, 50% on overages. So, right now, that's around, what, $12 million for the Phillies? Right, because you're over by 24 as of right now. So, right now, they're on the hook for $12 million. And then so there's a surcharge. So if they're over it by 24, so that's going to be an extra 12%. So right now they're on the hook for 62%. So you're paying right around 14 to 15 million in taxes. So if you bring in Montgomery, let's say you pay him 25 million, I mean, that's going to put you, so let's say he ends up for 25, let's just say that's going to put you at 286. And that's, so now you're going to get a 42.5% if you sign Jordan Montgomery on the overages, plus the third year. So you're paying 90% in taxes on overages if you sign Jordan Montgomery. So if they sign Jordan Montgomery, let's say 25 million is the AAV, 286. So what again? It was times 92%, 286 times 92. I feel like I'm doing some math wrong. Here we go. No, hold on. So that was 286 minus 237. 49 million is the over. And then you would pay 92.5 million. So yeah, you're paying almost 45 million bucks in taxes if you sign Jordan Montgomery this year. So basically, Jordan Montgomery, if you sign him for 25 million, you're basically paying $60 million for Jordan Montgomery this year if you sign him for a 25 million AAV. Do the Phillies want to do that? I don't know. And remember, they wanted to sign Montgomery before the Zach Wheeler extension. So maybe the ship has sailed on that. So I don't know. And of course, the other team left are my Red Sox. I'm not going to talk about this for a long time. You all know what I've been saying. Wife is in Boston. They need pitching. They've been connected with them all off season. They've shown interest all off season. I don't know, man. Garrett Whitlock as the 4 in this rotation scares the absolute crap out of me. I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care how good he looks this spring. I don't care how much muscle the guys put on this spring. Love it. Think it's great. But listen, I need to see him stay on the field. He hasn't been able to stay on the field as a starter. He was elite as a reliever a couple of years ago. Go back to 21. And then they tried making him a starter, and it just has not worked out. And I understand people, say like, yeah, but this guy's stuff is really good, and you got to have him as a starter. But it's like availability at the end of the day is your number one value. And if you can't stay on the field, then it's like, what are we doing? So yeah, Whitlock, sure. I like him in the rotation if he's healthy, but I don't know. I'm looking at this rotation right now, and sure, Andrew Bailey, I think he could definitely do some things. He can definitely get more out of these guys, but is it going to be enough depth? I don't know. I mean, you just brought in Chase Anderson. He hasn't done anything for, 4 or 5 years now. I mean, I think as a long reliever, he could definitely do something. You got Richard Fitz, who's now going to be in the AAA rotation, so that's a depth guy. You got some other guys down here. I mean, but I don't know. It's sure, Cooper Criswell, Walter. I don't know. I mean, I think Montgomery really he helps you out so much. It's so crazy to me that they haven't done it. It's so wild to me. I don't know. I don't know. You all know I think the Red Sox are the perfect fit, but I do wonder about some of these other teams. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure about the Phillies just because of the money. Again, you're paying a lot in taxes if you bring in Montgomery. Same thing with the Yankees. I actually wonder here if maybe St. Louis comes up, gives them a call, says, hey, let's have a reunion. I wonder if Baltimore could end up doing something, if this whole ownership thing is going to go through this coming week and maybe they approve, going after, someone like that. I don't know. The Cubs, they seem like they're pretty much good to go at this point. I don't see the Diamondbacks doing it. So I actually wonder what it's going to be at this point. I'm going to keep saying my Red Sox because they make the most sense. Sure, Phillies, if you add him, yeah, that makes you a World Series, one of the World Series favorites in my opinion. They're already, a strong contender to go after a World Series. But if you bring in Montgomery and you put him in this rotation, you got a solid 1 through 3 for the postseason. That puts you over the hump, but will they spend the money? It's not just spending the money for Montgomery. You're spending almost $50 million in taxes if you bring in Montgomery. So Middleton wants to compete, but is he going to do that? I don't know, man. That's a lot. You got to ask yourself, are you paying $50 million? I don't know. That's a lot. I'm just saying. Let's move on. So, my God, Jordan Montgomery, please sign. If you're watching this, please just sign. I'm losing sleep over it, my friend. I'm kidding. I'm not losing sleep, but I might start losing sleep at this point. Everyone, if you can, while I'm pulling up the next story, hit that like button for me. Actually, we hit our goal for tonight, 100 likes. So if you can help us get to 200 likes, I will love you forever. And let's actually start the new poll. Can we get to 200 likes? I think we can. Why can't we? But let's move on here. We had an interesting story regarding Jackson Holliday, the top prospect in the game. It looked like a surefire thing that Jackson Holliday was going to be with the Orioles on opening day. Because remember, they've done a thing recently where if the player is with the team on opening day, and if that player ends up winning Rookie of the Year, well, the team will get compensated with a draft pick for it. So, there can be a reward. You can be compensated if you actually have your rookies make the Major League roster. So, but now, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is going to happen. Jackson Holliday starting the season in the minor leagues. While funny enough, a guy like Wyatt Langford, I had the story pulled up. I guess I closed it out. Wyatt Langford making the Rangers. I'm going to be honest with you. All of a sudden, I think the Rangers, they might be in store for a draft pick as a reward. I'm just saying. Swingman Lou, how you doing, my friend? How you doing? Yes, JK, also a good point. Losing spots in the draft as well. I'm so focused on the money aspect. But yeah, that's another good point too. Losing positioning in the draft. So as for Jackson Holliday here, he will be starting the season in the minor leagues. He was actually having a pretty good spring. Let's actually go down here. Let's go pull this up. Where are the shortstops? My goodness, I cannot read anything. Jackson Holliday. Yeah, he was hitting over 300 this spring. He was showing some good on-base skills. He was slugging really well. Had a 311 batting average, on base at 354, a slugging at 600, had a couple of homers, a couple of stolen bases. Now, we'll get back to one part of this in just a second, but I don't know if anyone actually took the time to read this statement from Mike Elias. Like, I couldn't even read all of it. It's like, could we at least use paragraphs? Like, can we at least use something to maybe make this a little more friendly to the eyes? So, I don't know. Anyway, but he says here, I can't even highlight anything. So I can't even, I'll try to follow along with the mouse. It says here, with Jackson, I think it's important. Well, actually, let me go back a little sooner. Making spring training evaluations is more art than science. And all of these guys kind of did a great job putting themselves in the thick of competition and distinguishing themselves even with this talented camp. With Jackson, I think it's important to zoom out a little bit. He's way, way ahead of the curve. He's 20 years old. He's just turned 20 a couple of months ago. He's never reached AAA. He's moved through the minors at a pace that we haven't seen in a couple of decades, arguably. When we think about developing and completing the development of a player of his talent, and it's something we have experience doing. You know, we've done it with Adley and Gunnar and guys like Jordan Westberg. There's a lot of considerations involved so that when they do start their major league careers, you want them to be able to stay. Guys of that marquee caliber, you want them to be able to start their careers in full-blown, full-time roles. Because of how fast Jackson's moved and his lack of professional experience, I think he's played only like 18 games in AAA in particular, hasn't faced a ton of major league quality or even AAA quality left-handed pitching. That's something that's going to be thrust in his face when he's in the American League East. So he says here that he's going to be moving to second base, basically, because Gunnar Henderson's going to be at short. So, you know, I can understand what he's saying there. And there was also another thing here, Colton Wong. Colton Wong actually said, I think what most people are thinking. Says here, dude's a stud, man. He's going to be an incredible player. Sometimes the business aspect, you know how the game gets ran. So he's going to be up very soon. We all know that. So Colton Wong is basically suggesting that they're manipulating the service time. So, you know, sure. I mean, that's probably part of it. But I do wonder if that is the big thing here. Because, again, you get rewarded now if your rookies. But, again, you have to win Rookie of the Year. And, you know, at the end of the day, you have to have a lot of things go right, you know, for that to happen, right? So, especially with, you know, the competition that he would have for Rookie of the Year. We'll talk about Wyatt Langford in just a second. Guys like Evan Carter. You know, is it a surefire thing that Jackson Holliday would win Rookie of the Year? I mean, I'm not saying that he's not a good player. That's not what I'm saying. But doesn't the top prospect when they get called up, they're not always going to win Rookie of the Year. You know, we've seen top prospects before where they've come up and maybe they don't have a great first year or great first couple of years, and it takes them a little bit to get going. So, you know, just because Holliday, even if he was with the opening day team, doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to end up winning the Rookie of the Year, which would help with the Orioles, you know, get a draft pick out of it. So I don't know. But one thing to point out here is if you look at the strikeout percentage and the walk percentage, that is pretty bad, right? He was walking only 6% of the time, and he was striking out over 30% of the time this spring. That's pretty bad, right? Yes, he did have a good slash line, but I would think at some point, if he did start the year in the majors and he was already striking out that much, when he has been a guy that's shown to be very patient at the plate, he has been highly touted because of how advanced he is at the plate, right? Recognizing pitches, being disciplined at the plate, making good swing decisions, swinging in certain counts. That's what's made him so excellent, right, at such a young age. But this spring, it looked like maybe at times he was pushing a little bit, striking out more often against major league quality pitching. So, in a way, like, I can understand what Mike Elias is saying here. I think at the end of the day, Jackson Holliday, sure, you want him to help you win games this year, but you also want him to help you win games for the next several years. You also want him to help you win games, maybe even for the next 10 plus years if you can get him signed to an extension. So while obviously people want to see him and people, I think, hey, there's a good argument for him to be on the major league team. At the end of the day, you can make the argument that maybe they're trying to manipulate the service time. I don't fully think that's what it is. I think it could tie into it, but I actually really do believe that the Orioles, they do want him to just go work on the little things in spring. I don't think you're going to see him down there very long, maybe a month at tops, right? I think they just want him to, go face some more pitching, go to AAA, just get some more reps down there, and I think you're going to see him, all right? That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are just manipulating the service time. But as for Wyatt Langford, this guy's going to be a beast. I mean, Mike, I'm so excited for Wyatt Langford. I'm off the wall for him. Here we go. The Rangers have announced that Wyatt Langford will be with the team on opening day. Listen, they were talking about Wyatt Langford being in the World Series last year. That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. When you're talking about a guy that just got drafted and he could have already been getting at-bats in the World freaking Series, are you kidding me? I mean, that doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen very often, right? Especially a hitter, right? And they were talking about him already. Dude, this guy has been absolutely mashing since he came over to the pros. Guy was killing it at Florida. He was insane last year. Every level he was at, he just wouldn't stop hitting. AA, he had a 762 slugging. AAA, sure it was only 5 games, but had a 368 batting average, 177 WRC plus. These are video game numbers. Listen, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself here. I'm not. All right? But listen, this dude is built like a tank. The guy is an absolute savage at the plate. Hits bombs. Hits with authority. I don't know, man. Are we on the verge of seeing maybe the next great player in Major League Baseball? I don't know. I actually really wonder if we are maybe seeing it. I don't know. Listen, go back to the draft. there were talks about Wyatt Langford going number 1 overall, which I think if the Pirates had done that, I would have loved that move, right? Because they probably would have been able to sign him under slot. And I actually really thought he was going to be the number 1 pick at one point. I ended up going with Paul Skeens, right? Which is fine. But listen, man, Wyatt Langford, the fact that he has just been hitting everywhere he's going, it's crazy. And he did so well this spring. Hit .375 this spring so far. Has a .732 slugging. I mean, a .429 on base, 6 homers. What? Like, what is happening? The Rangers, man. I love this. I actually love that they're putting him on this team. Because why? Why? What else does he have to prove? He's already shown that he can just hit bombs anywhere he goes. Spring, he's been a monster. Dude, I think this guy could absolutely win Rookie of the Year. Listen, if they wanted to send him down to the minors, okay. Like, that's one thing, you know. But, however, I will point out with him, too. When you look at the strikeouts and the walks, it's actually pretty similar to Jackson Holliday. He's not striking out as much, but he is walking a little bit more than Holliday, right? But it is a little uneven, so I do think you should pay attention to that. He's going to go up against some really good major league pitching, and I think what they think at this point, you might as well, like, you're already showing how ready you are. You might as well just go take your bumps and bruises in the major leagues at this point, go up against the best pitching in the world, and just go take your licks, right? I think that's really the best idea. I mean, what are you really going to gain at this point going down in the minors unless you wanted him to clean up some stuff? But last year, he was already showing how disciplined he was. He was walking 23% of the time, you know, in AAA. In AA, Double A, Single A, that's where he spent the most. Right around like anywhere from 17 to 20% on the walk percentage, 15% roughly in the strikeout percentage. So yeah, you know, I think you could see some strikeouts with him this year. Who knows? Maybe he even goes down to the minor leagues at one point. Maybe he ends up struggling, but I think this is a good thing. He's just been an absolute monster this spring. I don't think there's a reason to send him down to the minors unless he just completely slows down and maybe he needs to take a breather, go get some at-bats down in AAA, and then do a reset if you need to at some point. But right now, there's no reason to. So, let's see. But, big fan of Wyatt Langford. Which actually leads me to talk about tonight's sponsor, and that is BetUS. So, everyone, really quick, let me get this pulled up here. So, BetUS, they're running a great deal right now. And actually, you can go make a bet on the Rookie of the Year right now. So, let me get this pulled up here. Here we go. So right now, Wyatt Langford is the odds-on favorite on BetUS at plus 225. Jackson Holliday is at plus 400. Evan Carter is in between at plus 300. You got Junior Caminero at plus 800 right after those guys. And then you got some others like Nolan Shanwell, Colt Keith, right? But my pick is absolutely Wyatt Langford, plus 225. I mean, I think that's a pretty good value. Again, this guy has not been slowing down. I think it's an absolute no-brainer to go take that bet. So let me actually let me log in. I can actually go place a bet myself here. And let's actually see if I threw down, I don't know, $20, right? Let's just say I wanted to throw a little, right? So if I threw down 20 right now for Langford, ends up happening, I put down 20, walk away, completely forget about it, end of the year, I win 45. So, but you could probably go as high as, nope, $50 is the limit for this one. So if I threw down 50 right now, then that would win me $112, right? So that's not that bad. So really not a bad value if you ask me. Maybe you are feeling, maybe Jackson Holliday comes up in a little bit and he just goes off like crazy. I mean, that would win you some pretty good bucks as well. So if you threw down 50 on Jackson Holliday, he ends up winning Rookie of the Year, that would win you $200. So really not bad when you're just looking at just the values of these picks. I mean, there's so many more that you can do. And really quick, while I'm getting this pulled up here, I have to make sure I do one thing. 1 second, everybody. Okay. There's so many more ways you can place a bet, right? You got all the awards. You got specials going on right now. You got futures, even for college, right? Making the playoffs for the future picks. The American League, National League winners. You can go over under on the wins. You can even go pick your World Series winner as of right now. So definitely recommend go check out BetUS. Right now, there's actually a deal going, right? So hold on 1 second. Let me go make sure I put this in the, hold on 1 second, everyone. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of difficulties right now. So if you go sign up with BetUS, right, use the code JOIN125. That gets you a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Not bad. And right now, they have an interesting deal going on. So you're going to have to do a little something here. So if you go sign up with BetUS, if you go make an account, this is what you need to do, right? If you go make an account with BetUS right now, go make a deposit to get your account started. If you send a screenshot to me on Twitter, go follow me, Ginger Snap Hide, right? So if you go take a screenshot of yourself signing up, right, that your account is active and you've signed up, send it to me. I will send it to them, and then they will credit you $25 in your account. You don't even have to do anything. All you have to do is sign up, right? Just go sign up, screenshot it, send it to me on Twitter. I send it to them, and they will put $25 in your account to go play with, right? So go check it out. I think it's a great deal. But I do want to emphasize, especially with all the events that we've had going on in baseball, this past week with Shohei Ohtani, I want to emphasize very heavily, please play responsibly, right? That is the big thing to always think about when it comes to anything betting related, sports betting especially. Responsibly, please. Do not forget about that word, okay? So, moving on, we have another young player to talk about, but I do have a couple of donations to get to here. I believe we had a couple get dropped here in the chat. What do we got here? Here we go. Maury's Life. So glad the Giants signed Drake Bell, Met Clapman, and Kim Jong-lee. My goodness. What a trio. Good grief. Oh, the Giants, listen, jokes aside, I think the Giants could be a really solid team this year. I love the offseason they've had. My goodness. Love it. Now, as for these guys, don't think they're going to win with those 3, but Blake Snell, Matt Chapman, Jung-Hoo Lee, I absolutely think they can carry the Giants to the promised lands. But these 3 guys, I'm not quite sure. Maury's Life, $1.99. Oh, okay, Robbie, read my other dono. I'm sorry, I didn't get to it sooner. But let's get to our next story. Maury, thank you for those. I appreciate that, seriously. But the Rockies are actually in the news. I can't believe this. The Rockies are in the news. They have signed Ezequiel Tovar to a 7-year extension. Who would have thought the Rockies would actually be doing something kind of productive. What in the world is going on here? The Colorado Rockies signing Ezequiel Tovar to a 7-year, $63.5 million deal. It can total out to $84 million if the option at the end of the deal is exercised, right? So Ezequiel Tovar played a very good shortstop last year for the Colorado Rockies. Not a lot of attention on the Rockies last year, but hey, there's a young guy that came in, and while the offense might not have fully been there, he did show some pop, right? 15 homers. He's a guy that's not really known for his power too, so maybe Coors helped him out in that aspect, but he is a guy that is regarded more of a hit guy over a power guy, and he's going to give you a good glove in the field. Last year, he actually put up some really solid numbers defensively. He had an 18.4 defense at shortstop last year. And then when it came to the defensive runs saved, he had 13 defensive runs saved, and he had 16 outs above average. Very good defensively. So, hey, you know what? You can never go wrong with a guy that can play some good defense at shortstop. But they are going to need this bat to get going a little bit more. They're going to need that batting average and the on base to come up a little bit more. I think you could end up seeing him probably staying around this range when it comes to the home runs. Maybe at some point he adds a little bit more pop, maybe gets into the mid-20s. It is Coors at the end of the day, so I'm just saying. But, hey, I like it. Hey, for the Rockies at the end of the day, why not? I mean, listen, you got a guy with potential, and the Rockies, they don't really ever do much good. So it's nice to see that they're locking up their young players, right? This is something that we, baseball fans, we are starting to love with organizations when they're signing these young players to these long-term extensions. Sure, maybe he's not really the caliber of a Corbin Carroll or a Jackson Chourio, but a guy that's shown he can play a very good shortstop. He just needs the bat to get going a little bit more, right? So we'll see. He is a guy, like I said, he's more of a hit over power guy. So I would imagine that hit tool is going to come around at some point. But at least he is a guy that's going to give you very good defensive shortstop, which is not easy to come by, right? It's a very valuable position. You got to have good defense there. So talking about our last story, let's stay in the West, right? So a little bit more on Shohei Ohtani here. So, and again, I said earlier, talking about BetUS tonight, they are sponsoring the show. But again, I know this can maybe be a little sensitive when tied to that, this whole situation. But again, please play responsibly wherever you may make any bets responsibly, everyone. So, according to Mike DiGiovanna, the Dodgers DH Shohei Ohtani popped into the clubhouse for a minute and said he will speak to the media tomorrow. Very interesting. And in case you have been living under a rock, well, his interpreter, Ippei, okay, so there was a report not too long ago that he had stolen money out of Shohei Ohtani's bank account to make bets. But before that, he had been talking with ESPN saying, hey, this is something that's been going on, but Shohei Ohtani, he's been helping me out. He sent me a couple of transfers, and he sent me some money to help pay off my debt. There's a big problem I'm having. It's definitely an issue that he said he's not happy about, yada, yada, yada. And however, not too long after that, the story completely flip-flopped, right? And then Shohei Ohtani, his representatives came out, representatives that he had just hired, which were like, I forget the term, basically like crisis control representatives. And they had said, whoa, Ohtani did not help this guy out. He did not help him out. This guy took the money out of his account. And then I guess because people are going back to when they were in the dugout, right? because in Korea, they were in South Korea during that series. They were seen in the dugout, laughing and, having a good time in the clubhouse or in the dugout, sorry. And then they went to the clubhouse, and I guess that is where he told the team that everything has been going on, right? And then Ohtani he had basically said later on, hold on, maybe I'm not getting the story right here. And no, I never helped him out, right? This is the guy, but his interpreter, Ippei, said that he did help him out. So someone is lying at the end of the day, and Major League Baseball, we saw not too long ago that they have now launched an investigation. So it's going to be really interesting. You're seeing a lot of different conspiracies being put out there. You're seeing a lot of people on Twitter putting out oh, I know this guy that knows Ohtani and knows this and knows that. He knows the people who were connected, who had been in that sports betting organization operation that was going on. And they said that Ohtani knew that he was even placing bets on sports. And so you're seeing a lot of stuff out there, right? And I don't know what is true. I don't know what's not true. At the end of the day, this whole thing is just whack. And I don't even know what to think. But again, the fact that Ohtani is kind of tied into all of this, it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good on him. It's only going to make him look bad. So I'm very curious to see what he ends up saying to the media. Very curious. Because, I don't know. Does he actually just talk honestly? And actually, who's going to, he's going to have someone talk, a different translator. Could you imagine Ohtani actually comes out tomorrow and speaks like great English? He just talks to everyone. I don't know, that'd be crazy. Could you imagine? I think that'd be awesome. But he's gonna have a different interpreter, I would imagine. So my guess is that this is gonna be a pre-written statement, and I don't know. I don't know. Is there gonna be a Q&A? Is there gonna be? I don't know. I don't know what to even expect, right? But he is gonna talk to the media tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. But right now, it's a lot of he said this, he said that. I don't know what to think. This whole thing is bananas. 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 Right? So we'll see. But expect Ohtani to be talking to the media tomorrow. I'm sure Twitter is going to be all over this one tomorrow. So we'll see. But everyone, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I am so tired. I feel like there was a couple of times tonight where my brain just stopped working. And wow, I am exhausted. I've been working on stuff. I've had a busy weekend. But everyone, we got opening day this coming week. Wednesday, we will be doing a preview stream. Come on out Wednesday night, probably around 9:30-ish. I know Jim of Ballcap, he's going to be doing a stream around 8:45 or so, 9 o'clock. I'll be going on after him. So make sure you go check out whatever he's doing. Then come check out our Wednesday night stream. It's going to be a hype-up stream for the season. Opening day is always a great day. One of my favorite days of the year. I don't know how I feel about my Red Sox right now, but make sure you come out Wednesday night for that. And also be on the lookout for my predictions in the next couple of days. And then I'm going to be doing some off-season grades as well. So if you can, on the way out, everyone, hit that like button for me. The goal for tonight was 200. We're at 178 as of right now, so we're only a few away from hitting that goal. So if you can help us get there, I will love you forever. Make sure the bell's turned on, share the show, subscribe if you're new. Everyone, I'm out of here. Thanks for stopping by. Have yourself a great week. I mean, it's going to be a good week because it's opening day on Thursday. No matter if your team is good, bad, in the middle, it doesn't matter because it's opening day. Everyone, have yourself a great night. and I'll talk to you next time.